Hey everybody, this short video is for the summer film group in Hyattsville. Thanks to Mike and Dan for organizing the sessions and leading everything, and to everybody else, it was nice to watch some movies and talk about them with y'all. The movie that I'm going to talk about in this short video is Andrei Tarkovsky's The Sacrifice, and the image that I've put up on the screen is from the beginning of that movie. But before I do, I wanted to mention that here in August of 2025, we're coming up on an anniversary in the world of music history. Bob Dylan's album Highway 61 Revisited came out on August 30th in 1965. So we're coming up on the 60th anniversary of that. The most popular song from this album must be Like a Rolling Stone, but the song that I'm bringing this all up for is the song, the title track of the album, Highway 61 Revisited, which at the beginning retells a story from Genesis, and this is how the Nobel laureate tells the story. He says, God said to Abraham, "Kill me a son." And Abe said, "Man, you must be putting me on." God said, "No." Abe said, what? God said, "You can do what you want, Abe, but the next time you see me coming, you better run." And Abe said, "Where you want this killing done?" God said, "Out on Highway 61. So as we're going to see, the Tarkovsky movie The Sacrifice also retells the Abraham story in a way, or at least re-engages with a similar set of themes. So the movie starts with Alexander telling his son, whom everyone calls Little Man, a story about a monk who plants a dead tree on a mountainside and waters it every day until it comes back to life. And when he's telling this story, his friend named Otto shows up, and they start having a conversation about being disappointed with their lives on some level, and they discuss the philosophy of Nietzsche, specifically the idea of the eternal recurrence, and they eventually make their way back to the house where there's a celebration for Alexander, because it's his birthday today. But at one point during their get-together, they start to hear jet noise, and it's so powerful that it's shaken their house. And this is a well-known image from the movie. This glass container of milk is going to be shaken off the shelf that it's sitting on, and it shatters all over the floor. And they end up putting on the TV, and they hear a news announcement that a war has broken out. And let me mention that during this whole scene, Alexander's son, Little Man, is sleeping upstairs in his room. But so this is them sitting, listening to the news report. And they basically say there's no place in all of Europe that you're going to be safer in than where you are. So just stay put and don't try to move anywhere else. And so the characters aren't really sure how to react, and they end up getting kind of drunk. And Alexander's wife, she has a fit and actually needs to be sedated by one of the friends who came over, who's a doctor. And it's at this point that Alexander has a moment to himself, and what he ends up doing is saying a prayer, and he starts with an Our Father, which he kind of stumbles through. But then he moves on to basically say, I know this is the war to end all wars. And he makes a bargain with God and says, I'll give you everything I have. I'll give up my family. I'll destroy my home, and think the final part of his bargaining says, I'll give up little man in exchange if you'll just reset everything just as it was before. So that's the deal Alexander proposes with God, and after his prayer he kind of climbs onto this couch where he is going to fall asleep. And sometime later he's going to be woken up by his friend Otto, and Otto comes to tell him that Maria can set this all straight. And Maria is a servant who works in Alexander's house, but lives elsewhere. And he says, you have to go to her. She lives behind the church. This is what he tells Alexander, you must go to Maria and lie with her. And Alexander doesn't really understand, and he's sort of skeptical about this whole thing, but he does agree to go and see Maria. So when he goes, he takes a bicycle so that nobody else in the house knows that he's leaving and where he's going. So this is him on his way to see Maria. I forgot to mention a minute ago that after the announcement about the war, the whole color of the movie goes really dark, almost black and white. And another thing to note at this point is that Alexander falls off his bike on his journey. So on his way to see Maria, he stumbles, and that'll be important in a second. So he finally gets to Maria's house, and she's kind of like, what are you doing here? And he comes inside, and then in her apartment, there's lots of Christian imagery. And this scene, she notices that his hands are so dirty from his fall, and then there's this scene where she pours water for him in this bowl and gives him some soap, and there's this kind of ritualistic kind of cleansing that she does for him. So they talk for a little while, and then Alexander asks Maria, could you love me? And just like the postman talked about, they end up lying together. And this is a real, what's the term, Tarkovsky-esque image of people floating above the mattress that they're lying on. This, if you've ever seen the movie The Mirror, I think that's the one that also has an image like this. So Tarkovsky's kind of quoting himself with this. But so Maria and Alexander lie together, and then the image is going to or the movie reverts back to the scene where it started, and you can see Alexander lying on the couch. And you can also see that the color in the movie has come back. So Alexander is going to get up and go downstairs, and he's going to see that some people are still at his house, but everything's just back to normal. And he's going to leave a note for his family that says, I'm just going to stay in bed, but why don't you guys go take a walk? And I think it's his daughter who finds it and reads it to them, and they say, yeah, let's go see that tree they planted. And then I don't want to give away the last 20 or 30 minutes of the movie, really, but let me show you pretty much the last image of the movie is little man in repose under the tree that comes back to life. So the movie's over 2 hours long, and I've left a lot out here. So this movie came out in 1986, and if you think about the start of it, it has sort of a ring composition, at least in terms of the setting, because it's starts and ends at the same place. But at the start, the two guys were basically having a conversation about Nietzsche, and at the end, you're given an image that's evocative of basically overcoming death. So in a way, the movie seems to be posing the question, at our point in history, when the nuclear annihilation of the human race is a possibility, are we ready for a kind of Nietzschean, post-Christian, potentially nihilistic sort of philosophy, or do we want to retain Christianity? And if you got to the point of annihilation, what would you be willing to sacrifice to regain salvation? So just as a final word, let me tell you that the first time I saw this movie, I was at a small theater down on Mount Pleasant called Sun Cinema, and after the movie, went outside, and there was a small group of people out there, and one guy, he said, "Hey, did y'all just see that movie, The Sacrifice?" And we said, "Yeah, we did." And he said, "Wasn't that just about the worst movie you've ever seen?" And I said, "Nah, probably not the worst, no." And this woman was standing there, and she, took that as her cue to, launch into this set of Tarkovsky apologetics. Anyway, I hope this presentation has motivated you to give the movie a chance, and if you haven't already seen it, and send me an email. Let me know what you think if you ever get around to it. So, okay, thanks a lot.